Let's bring on the great Carla Sands with America First Policy Institute, former ambassador to President Trump when it comes to Denmark. So obviously you have a lot of international experience. You were recently, I think, at CPAC at Hungary. You were speaking to a number of people over there in the Middle East as well. So of all people, Carla, I want to hear from you. I do want to hear from other people too, but I do want to hear from you when it comes to your thoughts about what's going on with this decision. Are we going to strike Fordo in Iran or not?
I think it's going to be the most consequential decision potentially that President Trump makes in his entire service as our U.S. president. It's a big deal because Iran still has capabilities. They can still strike back. If we do go take out the nuclear, the underground, deeply underground, buried sites that they've sequestered away. It's a shame that we've gotten here, that so many U.S. administrations allowed this to fester and didn't stop it when it was easy to stop. And so I just hope that all of your viewers will pray for President Trump for divine wisdom in this decision making. I think most of us don't want young men and women to die and don't want American citizens to die. And Iran has capabilities. And so if we do go in and take those out, we have a lot of ships in the area now. We have not that far away in Diego Garcia, we have B-2s and B-52s. So, we have assets out there, especially our human capital, our people that we care about. Our culture cares about people, human life. So I'm not going to advise President Trump because I don't have all the intelligence he does have. But I just hope that this will end one of two ways, that the mullahs will say, gee, we think that it's probably better that we disarm and that we have a great opportunity for prosperity in Iran. I don't think the mullahs will do that because I think that they can't back off the ledge that they're on and still save face in a very macho culture. But the other option is that the Iranian people rise up. And there's a wonderful woman that has a 10-point plan. Her name is Miriam Rajavi. And she has a group of Iranians who are in Iran and then expats who are supportive. And the people inside Iran, they want to change Iran's leadership. They're not asking for American boots on the ground. They're not asking for American cash. They literally want the leaders of the Western world, and I'll just say the civilized world, to support them and their efforts. And so that's what I hope that our leadership and the leadership around the world will do, that they'll support the Iranian freedom fighters that want a better way forward. She calls it the third way. It's about having a secular democracy, not a totalitarian religious, country led by mullahs that are so oppressive to all the people, but especially women.
Yeah, and from the Islamic Republic of Iran, of course, they are into Sharia law and all of that. So to your point about freedom, though, I love obviously talking about freedom here. The free world, people, whether they live in Iran or Israel or China or the United States or Belgium or Switzerland or Venezuela, the people actually just want that freedom. And it's just, isn't it wild, Carla, that it's only a few people that really have control, unfortunately, over the masses? I'm not talking about globally, but I'm talking about specific, like how about Brazil with Lula? We'd rather have Bolsonaro there, right? But we do have Viktor Orban in Hungary. So what do we do when it comes to these certain leaders that are just bad for the world's future or the ones that are good? I mean, I don't know if I really have a question there. If you want to take it from there, Carl, go ahead.
Sure, I'm happy to talk about that, Matthew. So my take on it is that in some cases, unfortunately, American intelligence has helped to install bad leaders in some of these countries. I didn't know about this. I was very naive. But after the Twitter files, we had Elon Musk and his Doge team dive into USAID and tell the American people that, as a matter of fact, our tax dollars were paying for regime change, whether it was in Ukraine, where we installed Zelensky. And this is public knowledge. We have the receipts, if you will. There have been hearings in Congress. We helped to take down, and I don't mean you and I, but I mean bad actors from the US and the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, helped to take down Bolsonaro and install a Chinese-friendly leftist hardline, I'll just say communist, in charge of Brazil, which is a big, important economy in South America. China's trying to spread its control throughout our Western Hemisphere. We need to be done with this Middle Eastern issue and be able to focus on chief, the chief danger for our country and our way of life, our civilization as we know it, and that's the Chinese Communist Party. So I'm hoping that this gets resolved quickly. I'm hoping that we can move forward with more leaders who love freedom and promote, the idea of equality, the idea of fair and free elections, the idea of courts that are fair and not biased against certain people. And that's what we have in the United States, and ideally, and that's what we have in most of the Western world. But that's what the people of Iran are seeking as well with this 10-point plan. So I hope that the American people and our leadership will support finally the freedom fighters, the resistance in Iran.
Exactly. And you were speaking about elections. Of course, part of the core promises by President Trump and the RNC was to have safe and secure elections and, voter ID, paper ballots, getting the election results in one day. Speaking of elections, the 2020 report that just came out from John Solomon, have to give credit where credit's due, of course, when it comes to some of the Chinese interference with our election in 2020, mailing ballots that were already filled out for Joe Biden, and that according to the FBI and John Solomon's reporting. What the heck, Carla?
I saw that. It is absolutely, it's verified, incredible. It's so shocking and appalling that they were sending fake IDs from China to the US, and then they were sending the printed ballots. And they literally had the telephone conversations between the principals that were making these ballots and shipping them to the US, actually not shipping to the US, shipping to Mexico and Canada, and then they were sending them into our country. It's unbelievable. And when we uncover the fraud, I can only say, thank God it's being uncovered. Let's uncover everything. But the fact is, the hidden blessing, and when bad things happen, oftentimes God has a perfect plan, and we cannot, we can't outthink his plan for us. Of course, we wanted President Trump to be reelected in 2020. I get chills when I think about it. But the fact is, look at the effectiveness, because we had those 4 years in the desert and time to make plans. When I think about America First Policy Institute, it would never have been started if we had had a second consecutive term. Instead, America First Policy and many other conservative organizations helped to create an ecosystem and a plan that could be executed on day one, even before day one, by President Trump and his administration. And look at how successful it is. We're so blessed. And so let's keep our eye on the focus on what we have, the successes. Yes, we'll look at the past, but we don't want to spend too much time on the past. I know we need consequences for some of the worst actors. People have to go to prison that broke the law. They can't get away with it, or they'll do more the next time the left has control of the administration. So let's have consequences, but let's move forward, not look backward. We can't spend all of our capital, our time, because there's only so many hours in a day and so many days in an administration. We're already half a year in. We only have 3.5 years to go. So let's focus on moving forward and the good that we can do.
That was perfectly said. I want to play that soundbite 20 more times, and I'm not kidding, Carla, because you talked about the justice being served to those that broke the law. So then, if the left ever gets in again, if they win an election, I don't know how they would win an election right now, to be honest, because the majority of the country are common sense people. But anyway, we don't want to have something 10 times worse than what we just saw under Biden happening in this country. Carla, let's talk about the fact that we don't want what it's like in London or the UK when it comes to saying certain things or posting a meme. Oh, you're bad. It's a hate crime to say that you don't like this president. Like, what? We don't want to deal with any of that, do we?
No, it's true. Matthew, if Kamala Harris had won the presidency, right now, I'm not sure that we could be having this conversation. And certainly she would have gone after Elon Musk. President Trump would be probably on his way to prison for some trumped up charge that they would have been able to jam through some corrupt court. The corruption of these courts throughout our country is something that has to be dealt with. Bukele down in El Salvador talked about this, how he had to reform the courts because he was actually being stymied by, he called it the cartel of the judges. So we need to go after that. That is a clear and present danger to all of our America First agenda. But I'm thinking about the New York mayor's race right now. New York City is an important city. It's the greatest city in our country, I'll say. And we have a far leftist Islamist running. He's a socialist Islamist. And he reminds me of some of the mayors throughout the UK are hardline socialist Islamists. They want Sharia law. They want all of the things that the Muslim majority countries, not the peaceful Muslim majority countries, but the ones that are hardline have, like Iran. They want those laws in our country and in our cities. And so he has to be stopped. So I just hope that anyone in that region, if you're an America First person and you don't want to be governed by someone like the former mayor in London, if you don't want to be governed in that way with Sharia law as the goal, get after it and support someone who shares at least some of your values.
And isn't Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York, now running for mayor of New York City as well, right?
Yes, and I'll just say this. Andrew Cuomo, warts and all, because he is certainly an imperfect person, would probably be the best candidate that's electable in this race for the mayor of New York. I think Maria Bartiromo, who I kind of admire, came out and said she supports Andrew Cuomo. So in spite of his imperfections and the things that he's done in the past, when you look at him and then you look at a guy who is an Islamist and a confirmed socialist, a hardliner, there's no contest. You want Andrew
And we
Cuomo.
know that New York, when it comes to a mayor for that city, is going to vote mostly left. Who knows? Wilder things have happened. But Curtis Sliwa is someone that people really like in New York as well, more on the right side of history. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there in the Big Apple. We hope that, we don't want any infiltration of an ideology that is anti-common sense and we the people, regardless if it has to do with religion or whatever. We just don't want, when it comes to Sharia law, we definitely don't want that kind of thing. But specifically, socialism, communism, Marxism, and on. It's a wild time out there, isn't it, Carla?
It is. I remember Curtis Sliwa. When I was a young professional, I lived in New York City and he was there and he had the guardian angels, I think he called them, and they were protecting people, women or vulnerable people when they were out at night. They would have red caps on and they were really good guys and girls. And they were mostly from minority communities, lower income people that just wanted to bring justice to the streets because New York was very bad when I lived there. But I think actually under the recent leadership, New York has become worse because of the lack of support of victims and the promotion of the criminals and the illegal immigration that's been allowed under President Biden that was welcomed by Kathy Hochul. So let's see what happens in the New York governor's race as well.
Carla Sands, thank you so much for joining us with the America First Policy Institute, former ambassador to President Trump, under President Trump for Denmark. Carla, thanks again. We'll look forward to having you on again.
Thanks, Matthew.
Definitely.